Welcome to Elevate and Thrive, Breaking Barriers for an Empowered Life. I'm your host, Jen Smith, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. In this podcast, we are going to dive deep into the transformative stories of individuals who have faced adversity head-on, emerged stronger, wiser, and more empowered. I'm here to share those stories with you, to remind you that no matter how dark the night may seem, there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a sunrise waiting to greet you. To inspire you to break through your own barriers, rewrite your own story, and to step into the light of your true potential. So what can you expect from Elevate and Thrive? Each week, I am going to bring you stories of triumph, resilience, and empowerment. We're going to explore the depths of the human spirit, spirituality, uncovering the courage and the strength that lies in each and every one of us. But more than that, we're going to provide you with practical tools, actionable insights, and a community of like-minded individuals who are also on this journey alongside you. So whether you're facing your own challenges or simply seeking inspiration to elevate your life, know that you have come to the right place. Together, we are going to break barriers, defy expectations, and soar to new heights. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I cannot wait to see where it takes us. Remember, you are worthy, you are enough, and your journey to an empowered life starts now. Welcome everybody to Elevate and Thrive, Breaking Barriers for an Empowered Life. My name is Jen Smith. I am your host on this journey. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Victoria Vida. I think that this is going to be a really inspirational story, and I am so excited to have you here, Victoria. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm very excited and a little bit nervous, but I'm ready to share my story.
Oh, I'm so thankful that you decided to come on here, and there's no need to be nervous because you are surrounded by love and support. So today, what would you love to share with us? And can you take us back to the beginning of your journey and just talk a little bit about that and what brought you where you are right now?
Okay, that sounds good. I came here 20 years ago in 2004. My plane landed at JFK. It was me, 24-year-old girl, not knowing English at all. So I could say, bye, my name is Victoria. I'm from Belarus. That's it. So I had a vocabulary pocket book. We didn't have cell phones back then. And I carried with me everywhere so I can communicate because didn't know sign language very well. And my journey began in a little town village in Maine, where I had my first job as a dishwasher. So, yeah, kudos to me. And I got laid off from that position 3 weeks later and got promoted, as I like to say, to my housekeeping role. So that was kind of interesting because as being an immigrant from a small country, I never traveled before. So I didn't know the whole housekeeping world. I didn't know, as a dishwasher, I didn't know exactly what I needed to do and how system worked. So I had to learn. And it's been challenging to learn because I didn't speak any English and I couldn't even understand what people were telling me. I was very fortunate to have people around me all the time. They were trying to explain sign language, vocabulary, just to get an understanding of what was going on around me. So I think I won an award as the best housekeeper at the hotel I worked at because I mean I cleaned those rooms as that was my own house, and that was kind of my journey. Uh, I worked there for 3 or 4 months, and then I moved to DC area to Northern Virginia, and I've stayed here since then. So here began my new journey in Northern Virginia as a server. So I was a server at multiple restaurants, and one of my first restaurant was Chinese restaurant. And when I got there, I was like, okay, I've never had Chinese food before. I've never heard of ingredients that comes into Chinese food. And I remember being shocked how many nuts can be walnut, peanuts, hazelnuts. I was like, Jesus Christ. I had no idea what it was. So while we were going through training, I was writing down everything in Russian language because I speak Russian. My native language is Russian. So just writing English words in Russian so I can memorize what it was. Walnut was walnut. And I waited tables and I said, "Oh, hello, how are you? My name is Victoria." Not being able to even have a like small conversation. And one of my first drinks that people ordered was white Zinfandel, and I was like, "Oh, something white, white Zin," and like I couldn't. I didn't know the drink, so I went to my manager and I asked him like, "Oh, it sounds similar to wow, wow, wow." So, and he was like, "White Zinfandel." I was like, "Yes, yes, that was it. Thank you very much. They need this drink." So that was my journey, just going from that restaurant closed out, and I went to another restaurant. Living in the States helps to learn language, right? Because you're around people, you have to get your driver's license, social security. All of that was new to me as well because we don't have that back home. And not having internet as we do right now. So it was 20 years ago, was challenging too. I couldn't get connected to my family. I called them. We had prepaid phone cards back then. And I had $5 to call them and just chat with my mom. So fast forward, I think year and a half later, I went to college, to community college to study English. And then I got my associate degree and I went to school. I got my bachelor in accounting and I became a CPA. I passed my CPA exam. I sat for it. I studied. Oh, I passed my exams from my first try. So it was like, yay, I'm so proud of it. And it's been more than 10 years now. I think the proud moment of me that I worked full time. I went to school 3, 4 nights a week, and I passed my exam working full time as well. So that was the biggest accomplishment and the biggest achievement to me, and it still is actually. I think one of my greatest things that I've done, and I'm very proud of it. I think during that period of time, being around people whom you don't know, going to school, learn new system because colleges are different. They had different system that our colleges back home had. And I thought, oh, what's going on? How do we do that? So it's been all learning journey because I didn't have any experience prior to that. And as I said, I had great people around me who helped me, who guided me, who assisted me in my journey. In 2018, my husband and I were separated, and it was bad separation. So it was physical abuse separation. I packed my stuff and I left. I had 4-year-old son back then, and it was terrifying. I was by myself in a country with I had more than $20,000 in debt on my credit cards, and I didn't know what to do. I think that was very much breaking point for me to realize that I was just by myself. I didn't know where to go to. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know. I was crushed because I've never experienced physical abuse before, and after being hit multiple times, it was devastating. I couldn't even speak about it. So I'm only told one of my best friends, and I told this to my sister. And I've been silent for a very long time. And I think only after 6 months, I was able to speak about it. So that changed kind of my life from one direction. I was like successfully climbing my career ladder. I was getting promoted, getting a job. I was switching jobs, getting promoted, did my job well. And then I felt like my life was ruined back then. So it was 6 years ago. So it is exactly 6 years ago. And I think at that moment in time, not knowing what to do in my life was worse than I came here without knowing what was going to happen. It just like I was paralyzed. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel emotional pain. I didn't even cry, so I didn't allow myself to cry. And I spent a month at my friend's basement with my son, and I moved into my place a month later, sleeping on air mattresses, having empty apartment, having nothing. And that's when I said my new life began. So this is the time when I've never lived alone in my life. Before, I had roommates, I had my mom, I had friends around, then I had my husband, and then I was just by myself. And it was scary. It was very scary to be alone. It was very scary to be by myself and take responsibility for my own life and a life of my child. So that was a very big step to grow up. Let's put it this way. But at the same time, it was very transformative to realize how important to have you in your own life. But that realization didn't come the first year after we separated. So we had a really big and heavy, not pleasant discussions about our separation agreement. We couldn't agree on certain things. He was a great father to my son. He was an amazing father to him. So they had really close, great connection. So that was kind of easy to handle. But everything else was very hard. And at some point, I went to life coach because I was feeling so down. I felt like I like to call it below a baseboard. So like I just like I didn't exist. I didn't exist. So when I went to her, she asked me like, "What do you want?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted. And it was another question like you have point A and point B, and you can take steps. I didn't even know what steps to take to get to the point B. And I didn't know what point B was at that point in time. And I remember she asked me to talk about my feelings, what I feel, and my emotions. And I couldn't say it because it was like, oh, he said this, he did this, he. So it was somebody else. I blamed everybody else in my life. So, and kind of pushing responsibilities to other people around me. And I remember, like, I felt her frustration that I couldn't express my feelings, and she kept pushing me. She's like, "No, what do you feel? What do you feel? What emotions? Like, what do you want from me?" And this is kind of we kind of hit the point when I realized that I need to change something in myself. I need to open up to myself and see what I really felt, and that was kind of very eye-opening. I cannot say it was pleasant though. So, and this is when I allowed myself to live through emotions and feelings I was hiding. So, and this is when I start kind of slowly open up and tell my story, what happened to me. Because what I realized, a lot of women, when they're physically abused and emotionally abused, we don't speak about it. We're afraid, we're scared, we feel that that may change, we're afraid how we will handle our life financially, what we will do with our life. It's a lot of what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. And we decide to stay in our little horrible bubble instead of just going out there and even talk about it. And I remember one thing when I went to the doctor after what happened with me physically, he begged me to not come back to my husband. He was like, please, please, you just cannot imagine how many women go through this, how many women go back and suffer years and years after when it happened for the first time. So we were separated. And I kind of start digging into myself, right? So, what will people say if I share my story? Some people didn't believe that my husband could hit me because he loved me very much. Some people said, "Oh my goodness, that's totally him, Victoria. Congratulations, you separated." Some people were still in between, in denial of what happened. But for me, it was I wasn't in denial. I knew what happened. And so I began my self-discovery journey. So I think everybody has a story about self-discovery journey, right? I think being by myself, not having family around, my parents, they still overseas. My sister, she still lives overseas. Not having family around, I had only one friend who lives here locally, and my other friends either in Switzerland, Canada, Delaware, but not here. So I could feel their support, but I was alone. And that kind of was very scary word for me to be alone. And after accepting that I was alone, after accepting that I was taking responsibility for my own life, I don't have to ask permission to do anything. That was kind of, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And if I didn't do that, It's what I decided not to do, or if I did something, I did it. So I stopped dependent on other people's opinion. That was very big step towards my personal growth. That because I always seek for other people opinions to tell me what they think, and oh, I need to be a good girl, right? So I cannot disappoint people around me, even though I was disappointing myself. Fast forward 4 years, it was slowly discovering myself, uncovering like from very deep woods who I truly was. I was a life coach. I went to school. I got my certification, and I remember people were telling me, what is your proudest achievement?" I was like, "Oh, I passed CPA, yeah!" I was like, "What? What's that?" And it was kind of disappointing that people were not as happy as I was about passing my exam. And this is when I met people who went on a spiritual journey, and this is when I met people who were talking about meditation. They were talking about guides, angels, and all the beautiful stuff that is around us. It's like, okay, I will listen to you. So I was life coach, and I help people go through their lives. But I noticed that at some point and it was with me the same, we hit that middle point to achieve our goal. We are either afraid, we're scared, we have those limiting beliefs, something is holding us back. So this is when I decided to go and study psychology so I can understand why people are afraid and how to help them to overcome their fear. That was biggest thing that played a significant role in my life. And I studied psychology, so I kind of figured it out. I learned techniques, how to help, how to realize, how to overcome those fears, guide people through this so they can achieve their goals. And this is when I went to more spiritual growth myself. So I learned about energy centers, how they impact our life, chakras, we can call them chakras, and I've explained it as energy centers. I started meditating. I went into a world that wasn't as conservative as DC is. I'm in DC area, right? And 4 years after our separation, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So he was 42 years old. And we were right in the process of finalizing our divorce. So we signed our separation agreement on his mom's birthday. Then he got sick. We learned that he had stage 4 cancer. And I postponed my divorce because so he can use insurance. So he doesn't have to sell kidney to cure his cancer, right? So and that was year and a half of me watching him living his life. So that's kind of another thing that now I share about him. He wasn't very positive person, let's put it this way. He was always more on negative side. But when he got sick and he began his treatment, this is when he started living his life. So he lived his life to his probably full potential he could, and he enjoyed it every second of it. I was like, oh, wow. I was surprised to see what he was doing. I didn't understand back then, like 2 years ago, 2.5 now. Why was he doing that? So he should be spending more time with our son because to build memories. And when he got sick, I stopped sleeping. So because I was so scared to be alone again. And it was like I wasn't just by myself for my son. At least he had two parents alive. And I know that having stage 4 cancer, what are the chances? What are the chances that he will survive? And he had rectum cancer. So the chances were 10% he will survive 5-year term. I stopped sleeping. I was so freaking out in my head how I think I was so feeling pity at myself that what am I supposed to do now? I will be like fully responsible for my son. I was mad at him that he found an easy way out, do not take responsibilities of what was happening. I mean, a lot of things was going through my head. And as I said, I couldn't sleep. And like one night after another, I was killing myself with my own thoughts. And I was like, it gotta stop. I mean, my son needs me. His dad is sick, right? So at least he needs healthy mom, like mentally healthy mom and physically healthy mom, because I already figured out the connection between mind and body connection, that our mind then reflects our body. And if we don't calm down and control our mind, it will be the results will be in our body. So I found techniques. I was in school back then studying psychology, and I found techniques that helped me to ground myself, that helped me to be in the present moment, that helped me to stop overthinking. Oh my goodness, what will happen if he dies, and what will I do? Poor me, poor girl. Yes, I felt very bad and sad for myself, and then I felt very sad for my son because they had very strong connection. And then it shifted from feeling sorry for myself, feeling sorry for my son, that I need to talk to him about it. I need to explain him what was happening. And he was 6 back then. And it's kind of all was terrifying, terrifying experience. Basically, one phone call changed my life again. And watching him living the life for the next year and a half helped me to realize, he really realized that we live here right now and we have to enjoy it. We may not have tomorrow. We don't know, right? So nobody knows pretty much when we leave this earth. I mean, in this body at least. Um, and our life we have been postponing our life to tomorrow. I'll work out tomorrow. I'll change jobs, maybe, but I'm not really sure. Every job sucks, and it will be the same thing. And we think that we do have a lot of years ahead of us, but we're not. And watching him being sick and what cancer that did to his body, um, eye-opening, uh, horrifying, but watching his behavior shows that you have to live and enjoy now. So, because there is probably no tomorrow, just enjoy it. And he passed away. He passed away on my birthday. So that's another thing that I had to explain to my son. So my birthday, mom's birthday, yeah. And I'm receiving a phone call that he died. So um oh, I can get emotional because it was my birthday afternoon, and I went to his house. I've been to his house every day after the doctor told him that he will have only up to 6 weeks to live. So my son was there, so he can see his son every day before he's gone. And we were supposed to be there an hour earlier, but my job, they held me, so I needed to do the meeting, and I was late. But if I was there, I would be there when he died. And I think God protected me, my son, from seeing him going away. And when I went there for my birthday, I saw a warm body. It's still warm. And I had to say him goodbye. But what I said, thank you for my son. And I had to explain to my son why his dad passed away on mom's birthday, because he couldn't he's like, Mom, why did he die on his birthday? And what I told him, that was a gift. That was a present to like every one of us who was close to him. It's a gift to remind us that we live to die, that our life is a precocious moment every single day, every second of it. And we have to appreciate, and we making choices and decisions how we will live our life. And he agreed with me. So, and it's been a year and a half since he passed away, and we had his first anniversary last year, and it was great. So we kind of celebrated his life, we celebrated my life, and I'm thankful to him as well that it did happen on my birthday. It's kind of weird, maybe sound like weird, but I think if it was before or after, it wouldn't be that meaningful. And now it has so much power in it, and it was amazing. So it's been a year and a half, and it's been good for both of us, for me and my son. And that was kind of a moment what I wanted to share, to say something for women who are trying to find themselves and who are going through difficult situations. Our life gives us lessons to go through and achieve our best and full potential. Because if we feel stuck somewhere, we're not moving, we're not growing, and our life is designed the way that it helps us to grow physically, emotionally, and grow us as a person. And every obstacle that we meet, it's just a lesson. It's like school exam. We have to pass our exam. And sometimes when it feels so scared and afraid, life will put us into the situation that you cannot escape, right? So it's there. And you still have to go up. You still have to go and achieve what you want to achieve. And sometimes if you feel lost, just keep going, keep crawling. This is what I say, because you're never alone. And it was the biggest realization that I am alone, sort of alone, but I never alone as well, because there are something like power above us that supports us, guides us, and helps us.
Absolutely. That is just amazing. I was like, there were so many things while you were talking that I was like, wow. One of the things that really stood out to me when you were telling your story of where you started and then events that led up to now is when you were talking about being alone and how scary that must be, and to come to a different country where you don't speak the language and be surrounded by people, circumstances, new situation. Everything was new, everything was a learning, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I know other people who have come here from other countries, and they talk about that, about how they didn't understand anything and they had to just learn along the way. And I just think about how brave that is and how much courage that takes to come and put yourself in a situation where you are faced with all of these challenges, and how much determination and not giving up that had to take inside of you to overcome every situation, every obstacle, and all the learning. And so I just really want to acknowledge you for that, because it blows my mind to hear how much was involved in that journey.
Mhm.
Do you have
It
any
was.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for the listeners, or maybe words of wisdom of how you were able to get through some of those moments where they were really challenging? Here's another thing that I need to learn, or maybe I don't understand. Even when you were talking about dishwashing, you didn't know how the system worked, going back to college, and it's so different from where you grow up. How, in those moments, did you find the strength or the determination to say, okay, I'm just going to figure this out and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to accomplish this?
I ask questions. That's one of the things that help to grow. It was asking questions. It doesn't matter what you do, where you are. If something is unclear, ask questions. And it was hard to ask questions when you don't speak language.
Hmm.
It was hard to ask questions because I have an accent, and some people don't understand accents, right? And it was hard to repeat myself, thinking that, oh my goodness, what did I say wrong? And by asking questions, what I see, people are responsive, they're willing to help. And what I found about the States in general, if you ask a question, people do help. They are not offering their help just because they think you might need help. But if you ask, everybody that I ask question or for help, everybody helped me. It was just amazing how it all turned out. And if we're facing those obstacles as a dishwasher, okay, what do I do? Because I didn't know how to like do dishes at the restaurant, right? So and just asking those and do your job the best. Kind of put your heart. It doesn't matter what you do, just put your heart in it, and it will open up different opportunities for you. It will open up different ways to overcome what you need to overcome, and it will help you to grow as well. Because to me, I think most of the people, they have good intentions and they're willing to help. Yeah, asking questions and ask for help sometimes.
And it sounds like too, there's an element of embracing some vulnerability in those moments too,
Yes.
because to ask for help is to be vulnerable.
I'm so afraid of it too because we are strong.
Yeah,
Yes, we are. And I've learned it hard way too. When I started living by myself, I could assemble furniture. I was able to do everything, but so I learned to do everything by myself, even take out trash. That's my least favorite thing to do. But when I was trying to prove everybody that I can do it on my own, and then ask my question, why? Whom I'm proving it to? People? I was just trying to prove it to myself. And then I started asking for help. And sometimes people just offered me help. Like, okay, anytime you need something, I was like, okay, can you help me? And people said yes. So that's very important to learn and be able to ask for help when you need help.
absolutely. And then, overcoming that adversity and finding that resilience inside of you throughout all of these challenges and that journey. And it's just amazing to hear where it took you. And I truly believe that when we come into this life, we have certain soul lessons that we are here to learn. It sounds like there's a theme in your story of really working with this being alone. Even coming to this country is learning to go at it on your own, but then also finding the help around you and embracing what was around you, learning how to be alone and be with yourself. And I heard you talk about the emotion. I can really relate to that because for a really long time, I was one to just numb out my emotions and not feel things. And when we really sit with ourselves in times of being alone, to me, that's where I've seen my biggest growth. And it's in those moments of embracing the emotion and the hard things and just sitting with that. That's where the healing takes place. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's a little bit of my story too. I always thought that I was a bad mom, right? So my ex, not like my husband, he kept telling me that I wasn't the mom that I was supposed to be, I guess. And that was the huge burden in my life that I wasn't good enough for my son. I was a bad mom. I was a bad mom. And when I realized that I was a good mom, I was a perfect mom for him because there is no other way around. And learning how to not even not managing my emotions, but allowing them to be. I learned to say, I'm sad right now. I'm angry now. That helped a lot. So once I allow myself to be angry at the situation, at myself, at life. Just let it be. It helped a lot. And it helped to uncover more, I call it positive emotions. I don't like to say negative or positive emotions, but when we preserve ourselves and we don't allow ourselves to go through negative emotions, let's put it this way, we don't allow ourselves to go through positive emotions as well and enjoy our life fully. So it's still emotion. Sometimes I feel this way and sometimes I feel this way, and this is who I am. And when I start speaking about it and allowing myself to live through it, right? To sometimes I can yell, sometimes, yes, I can say I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm angry. And that's it. It just goes away. But it opened up, I guess, more space in my heart for love, compassion, kindness.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I think a lot of people, myself included for a really long time in this, really try to avoid the negative emotion. And I agree with you. I've come to look at emotions as not good or bad now, but it wasn't always that way. We don't want to feel sadness. We don't want to feel these what we experience in our body as unpleasant emotions. It's
Yeah.
the sadness and the anger and the frustration and all of those types of emotions that don't necessarily have the good feeling in our body. But
Mhm.
what I've come to realize is just like what you said is when we just allow them to be what they are and acknowledge those emotions and honor what is, it oftentimes does pass very quickly. And it's when we try to avoid feeling those emotions, that they get stuck in our body. And like you said, earlier in the conversation, when we hold on to those emotions, our body is energy. And so our body holds on to that energy, and then it starts to manifest in different ways. Illnesses in our body, and it manifests because it's trying to get our attention. It's trying to say, hey, this is something that needs to be understood and seen, or at least acknowledged, so that it can be released and we can move on, so that we can feel beautiful, positive things. Because when you hold on to those hard things, the sadness, the anger, all of those things, it takes up energetic space. And when we feel it and we acknowledge it, we release it. And that opens up energetic space for happiness and love and joy. And it sounds like you really did that throughout this journey and were able to come to that understanding about yourself.
Yes, and it's been a journey too, right? So it's been a journey to learn about energy in our body. It's been a journey to learn about frequency in our body and how our emotions impact our body. So, and how smart our body is, and it knows all of the answers that we need to, that we're looking for. And going through that transformation myself helped to realize and help to speak up about emotions and how we live through emotions, and allow women and men too, by the way, to talk about their emotions. Because a lot of, as you said, a lot of us, we just hold on to those, especially negative emotions, and they're all stuck here and we feel kind of consumed. It's like we put in, sometimes I call it laundry basket, we put in there, but it needs to be cleaned up. So just let them be, let them just live through them and allow them to be, because it's not a good thing and it's not a bad thing. This is what it is, this is what they are.
It's part of being
Yeah.
human. To feel all of
Yes,
the
it's part of being
spectrum of emotions is just part of this human experience. And I believe that when we feel these emotions, they can be our greatest teachers.
they
Because,
are our
yeah,
teachers.
yeah, because it helps us understand a situation that we've gone through. And it's just information. It's just information, and it's our human way of processing that information in a physical way. And so when we start to look at it like that, it takes some of that heaviness away of feeling sad or feeling mad. And it's like, well,
Burden that, oh, I, and allowing yourself to feel this way. I think that allowing yourself to feel this way is one of the biggest challenges, I guess, because we don't allow ourselves to feel it.
I want to loop back
Yeah.
to the part of your story where you talked about physical abuse, because I absolutely agree with you. I think that a lot of women and men, it doesn't have to just be women, but as a woman myself who has also experienced abuse, I can really relate to what you're saying, in that I think it can be really, really hard to talk about these situations sometimes. And then there is this sense of nobody's going to understand, or maybe you're worried about what other people are going to think or what they're going to say. So a lot of times we just walk this journey on our own. And what I have found throughout my coaching, and I deal with a lot of people that have experienced trauma. That's actually part of my purpose, which I didn't realize until more recently as well, is that a lot of my experiences led me to being passionate about helping other people who have dealt with traumas in their life. It can be very, very challenging to reach out, to talk about what's going on. And what I am realizing is how many, especially women, have similar experiences that we don't talk about. And what I would say to the listeners is that if you've experienced something like that, there are so many other people out there, even if you might feel alone, that can relate. And so I just really want to thank you for sharing that with everybody today and sharing your story, because I really truly believe that when we talk about these experiences in our life, that it does help other people realize, hey, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at where you've come from, where you are, all the things that have happened in between, what are you hoping that you can inspire or impact others by sharing your story today? And is there maybe a message or a lesson that you would like to share with other people who might be going through some similar experiences?
Yes, of course. I think I always have something to say. Um, I wish everybody to think positive. It's we there are a lot of talks about positive mindset, and it's very hard sometimes to think positive because we are trained to think that only negative thing will happen to me, and we think about it and we attract those negative things. And when we start shifting our mindset, stopping our mind, it's like catching a fish, like, oops, I caught it. Catch your mind, catch your thoughts. If it's negative, transform it to positive. Let's say it's about relationship, right? So, oh, it's always like that. All men are assholes, all women are, there is a story behind, like, there is a story. Just stop it and say, there are good men and women in this world. I haven't met mine yet. And just be positive about what you will feel when you meet that person. Go to your emotions, your feelings. And when we do visualization, sometimes it helps to stop negative thinking. Just go and think about, dream, imagine, visualize how you will feel when you have it. Not necessarily material things, or if it's a man, oh my goodness, he's tall, brunette, or something like that. Just how you feel next to this person, because he may not look like you imagine, but he will be your soulmate because you feel safe and secure next to him. That's kind of the thing that I want to share with listeners. The other thing, what I want to say, live your life now. Don't think about what other people will say if you do so. If you have a calling in your heart, if you want to change and leave your job and do something different, or you just want to switch a job because you feel miserable there, go and do it. Nobody will do it for you. You are the only person who is responsible for your life. There are a lot of talks about this as well, but this is the truth. That's why a lot of people are talking about it. You are in control of your life, even though sometimes you feel you are not. Making those little steps, if it's not a giant step, adjust your resume, send out your resume, go for an interview and see how you feel if you want to change your job. If you're looking for a relationship, look back at what didn't work in last relationship and see for the red flags, right? We talk about red flags a little bit. But have an open mindset and open your heart to meet and attract more people thinking positively. If we go on a date and think that he's an asshole, every man is an asshole, right? So you will meet one, he will prove your point. But if you go on a date and think there are great men out there, great women out there are great people who are looking for their partners, they're looking for their love too, you will meet one of them. So just try to live this way. Just do small steps. And even if that small step is like this step, like baby step, I like to call it baby step. Just make that little baby step. It will lead you to where you need to be. I think one more message. Like, oh, I'm going, I'm all there. Always look at life as not just one path, but multiple pathways. So sometimes we think this is the only way. It's not true. There are multiple ways you can be where you want to be. And if this way doesn't work, look around you. There are different ways to get you where you want to be.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. I think that that's really wonderful advice. And I also think too what you said about staying positive. Sometimes I think fear gets in the way of people taking action. And so I love what you said about the baby steps, but also reframing that, because when we look at a situation, you gave the example of relationships, is like if you have a belief about a certain type of person is one way, or maybe they're another way, it absolutely will attract that to you. Your belief creates your reality. Challenging these beliefs that we have is how we move forward. And those are the baby steps. Sometimes it's just that baby step is challenging, being aware and challenging those thoughts that come up. And like you said, reframing them into a more positive way. How can I look at this differently? Or questioning sometimes too, is this true?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, yeah. Is
Yes.
this true? And that is the way that you get past the fear. And that's the way that you move into these different directions. And I love what you said too about there's more than one way to get to where you're trying to go. And I think sometimes we give up so easily if we try and then it doesn't work. And then it's like, well, that didn't work. So I'm just going to revert back to where I am or stay where I am now. And I'm not going to try anymore. And I love what you said is that there's always multiple ways. There's multiple paths to get to the destination. And
Yes.
so it's that determination that I hear you have, and that resilience and that courage to keep trying different paths and trying different things and keep learning and keep growing and keep opening to new possibility. And that really sounds to me like a theme in your story.
Yeah, yes, actually it is. Yeah, because I speak from my own experience, not just that I read it in a book. It's been a journey. It is a journey, and that journey will continue, but it really leads me where I need to be. And I believe in it, and my heart is open to any opportunities that come my way.
I love it. If there is anything that you would like to leave as a legacy, if anything that you would like to pass on, what would that be as you continue on your journey?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, That's a very good question. Again, it's positivity and the taste of life. I would like to, I think my goal, I want to help people to get the taste of life, to really enjoy it. And even if my one sentence helps somebody somewhere, I don't have to know it. And that taste of life gives us a lot of enjoyment and, satisfaction. It doesn't matter where we are right now, and we can find it even in difficult situations. So I think this is what I would like my life to be and live after I'm gone. Just the taste of life people would get, maybe learn from me. And I hope that my son will learn from me as well. He's learning, but he will remember it to have the taste of life.
I love it. I love it. Where can people find you? I know that you have a website and you're on social media. Can you just let people know where people can find you if they want to connect with you?
Oh, yes, of course. So, my website is Self Awesomeness, because I believe that every person is awesome, but we have to discover our awesomeness. So, it's www.selfawesomeness.com. I have Instagram. It's Instagram at Self Awesomeness. I do share my stories there too. And I'm a Reiki master, so I do energy healing, and I'm a sound healer. I help with body frequencies and mentor people right now and going into the spiritual discovery of themselves, kind of guide them in our modern world, because sometimes it can be complicated to combine spirituality, growth, and modern society. And I guide them to combine both of those aspects into our life. So this is where you can find me, selfawesomeness.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I will post all of those links in our episode so that people can find you as well. But thank you so much for being with us today, Victoria. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story and keep up the amazing work. I truly believe that you are a gift to this world and I think that you're awesome. So thank you for being here today.
You're done.